Hey guys, welcome to 6 Minutes for Monday, July 4th. Happy Independence Day to everyone. Today we're talking about Team Alabama for Fargo. But before we get to that, let's do just a general overview of Fargo, some context to help you understand. I'm going to be doing this at the top of every single one of the state previews. So if you've seen it before, maybe you started with another one, and you don't want to hear me say pretty much the same thing for about 3 minutes or so, skip over this and jump right to this state. But I think it's important to talk about the context and what Fargo means for high school aged wrestlers. It is the largest tournament, I think, in the world. Last year they had almost, 6,000 competitors in Fargo, in North Dakota. We'll be there, and it's always a blast. So anyway, we'll get into some of those numbers in just a second. Let's jump first to this is the promo schedule that I have planned for the next 2 weeks. Very, very busy. Today we're going to do Alabama. Later this week we're going to go through every single state until Saturday, and then on Monday we're going to begin the breakdown of the actual of each of the tournaments. Now, I'm not going to break it out in terms of freestyle and Greco for the men, but we'll talk about the 16U women on July 11th, the 16U men on July 12th, and that's where, for a lot of people, they understand kind of who the best might be from their state, who has the best shot, and all those sorts of things. But I don't know that everybody has real understanding of how deep the tournament is, how competitive the tournament is. So that's where we're going to get into some of those details. And then on Friday, right before everything starts, we'll be up there. They'll be doing their last practice, at least for the 16U women, and 16U men will be doing their final practice, probably getting down to weight, that sort of thing. And we'll break out with some interviews and such. Anyway, so I already kind of touched on this, but this is the schedule in Fargo. We start Saturday, July 16th with both the 16U men and women. And then we basically go for every single day until Friday, July 22nd. And the way it basically works is the tournament kind of begins for one tournament while another tournament is wrapping up. So, for an example, Saturday, July 16th, you've got the 16U women and the 16U freestyle men are starting. And then on Sunday, you see that we've got the 16U women medal matches happen at 1:30, typically 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. After the junior freestyle men have started that morning, that's when we'll get those medal matches. And then on Monday, because the brackets are larger for the 16U freestyle men than they are for the women, they've got their slot for their finals. And then Tuesday, the junior freestyle men's medal matches, and so on and so forth, wrapping it up. So if you can only tune in for one time to kind of watch, one time a day to kind of watch what's going on, and you want to watch some of the best wrestling, about 1:30 in Fargo is definitely the time that I would tune in and check out those finals matches. All right, so why Fargo? Well, first and foremost, I think it's important to talk about the impact Fargo has on college wrestling. Now, if you don't want to be a college wrestler, then probably going to Fargo is not really that big of a deal to you. But many of you that watch this, I'm sure that is a goal. That is somewhere you want to go to. Now, don't get me wrong, a D3, D2, NAIA coach, they'd love to have a Fargo All-American on their squad. Many of them do. But this is where you see those Division I coaches walking around an awful lot. So Super 32 and Fargo are the two places that you see a great number of them on the floor, watching athletes compete, so on and so forth. These numbers are brought to you by Jason Bryant's Fargo Almanac. Brought to you by his Fargo Almanac. You can get it at fargoalmanac.com. I think it's 194 pages of just tons of information. All of the All-Americans from every single state, all over the place. So definitely check it out. But this gives you some context for why it's important. 79% of NCAA Division I place winners All-Americans at the NCAA Division I, almost 80% of them since 2006 competed in Fargo at some point in time during their careers. They may not go to Fargo every single year. They may go, 2 years and then they skip a year or they miss a year. But take in these numbers. 78.2% of NCAA Division I champions placed at the 16U Junior Nationals. This is why college coaches put it on their radar. They want to see how these wrestlers compete against the best in the nation, and this is the best opportunity to do that. All right, let's jump ahead. And those numbers exist for the girls as well. I just didn't read them out. But jump ahead to some of the numbers for last year, and you can get a sense, again, of the size and the scope of the brackets and the competition. Now, this doesn't give you an idea of the competition. There could be, tons of wrestlers, but the competition isn't quite as high. Imagine tons of wrestlers, and they're all at the top level. That's what we've got. So as you see, off to the left, you've got 2018, 2019. We skipped 2020 or 2020 because of COVID, and back in 2021 last year. And you can see the numbers, 900, 1,000, 1,300, 1,500. Those are the Greco numbers for 16U boys. That's the 943, 967, and 915. And then the junior boys for Greco, 1,000. We broke 1,000 last year, 928, 908. Freestyle, again, 16U on the left, and junior boys on the right, and then the 16U women and the junior women on the right. The reason I put the numbers in is because I want to give you an idea of the average size of each bracket. So if we just took those numbers, divided by the number of weight classes, you can see that in junior men, the average bracket was 106 individuals. 106 individuals of top quality individuals competing for 8 spots to make All-American, and that's just the average. So obviously, if you're a 100-pound or a 285-pound junior man, your bracket's probably going to be a little bit smaller. If you are a junior 132, a junior 138, 145, 152, your brackets, you have a 256 person bracket. Now, it won't be 256 people. That's the size of the bracket. But it'll be 150 entries at one of those weight classes. And wait till we get to showing you what I think is the best weight class, and that is junior 132s, which is fantastic and very relevant to what we're going to talk about today with Team Alabama. So without any further ado, let's jump to Team Alabama and talk a little bit about their past success, their rosters coming in, that sort of thing. So as you see in front of you, this is the 16U men roster, male roster, coming into the tournament. And yeah, there's some really good names on there. And if you look at the cadet duels, you'll get a pretty good sense that there are several names on this list that should be very, very competitive. Probably the one that I look to that stands out on this list for me is Willie Cox. And the reason Willie Cox stands out to me is because Willie is a returning 16U All-American. So returning Greco, 16U All-American. I think he was 8-0 at cadet duels. And yeah, I mean, he should be in the hunt. He also went to junior duels and wrestled extremely well there. Finished with, I believe, a below 500 record, but wrestling against the junior guys, 285s. The other name that stands out, and there's a lot of names. I'm not going to read everybody's name. That's just not really going to happen. Is Brody Christmas. And Brody wrestled up at 120 at cadet duels, was unbeaten at 120. According to the list that I got from Team Alabama, he's listed at 113. If Brody is at 113, yeah, he should certainly be part of that conversation of those that should be competing. So what's the likelihood that any of these individuals from Alabama, 16U men, are going to make the podium in Fargo? Well, there have been in the span of, I don't know, I think this is our 51st year of Fargo, and it wasn't always in Fargo, but we're not going to get into details. There have been 10 freestyle 16U All-Americans from Alabama. 10 in 52 years or 51 years. They've never had a 16U freestyle champ. The last All-American in freestyle was Gabe Hicksonbaugh in 2017, 5 years ago. So that should give you some context for how difficult it is to make the podium in Fargo. In Greco, they've had 14 Greco All-Americans. Sam Latona, Virginia Tech Hokie, Thompson High School in Alabaster, is the only Alabama 16U Greco champ ever at 88 pounds and back in 2016. But Alabama did have two All-Americans a year ago. One of those, Willie Cox, is back again this year. So that should give you an idea of how tough it is. It also should give you some context and understand how much of an opportunity Brody Christmas and Willie Cox and others have coming into the tournament. All right, so let's jump to the 16U women. And we've got 5 on the list. Evelyn Holmes-Smith, Leah Guthrie, Anaya Vines, Kelsey Hill, and Lena Johansson. It'll be really interesting to watch the 5 of them go out and compete. Alabama hasn't had a ton of success with the 16U women in the past. In fact, Alabama has had one All-American, and that was back in 2012. It was Hannah Gladden. And a year ago, they only took one 16U to Fargo. Okay, that was Yasmini. I think it was Yasmini Oliveira, who's now in juniors. So the fact that Team Alabama is taking 5 this year, I know Evelyn Holmes-Smith has been all over the place, has wrestled lots of different people. Anaya Vines has wrestled a lot of people all over the place. We didn't get to see them at the duels, which was unfortunate because I think that would give us a much better sense of their chances. But we'll talk about the detail and the possibility of what the competition looks like next week when we get to the breakdown of the 16U women there. All right, so let's jump to the junior women. And as I said before, our lone competitor from the state of Alabama, Yasmini Oliveira, she is the Tricia Saunders Award winner for the state of Alabama. She's also a member of the Pan American Games Pan Am team for Team Brazil. And she should come in. One, she has had a Fargo experience before, wrestled well last year. I don't remember off the top of my head if she was 3-2, 4-2, something along those lines. Missed out on making the podium. But she should come in very, very good shape because she's actually this coming weekend getting ready to wrestle in the U20 Pan Am Games in Mexico. So she's definitely one to watch. But we'll get to the breakdown. Now, the context for the junior women, we've had 3 All-Americans. Well, kind of. We've actually had 1 All-American. Hannah Gladden was an All-American 3 different times in 2012, 2013, and 2014. And last year, they only took 1 junior to Fargo as well. So this is an opportunity for those Team Alabama women to make their mark. There are 6 of them listed from Team Alabama that was sent to me. So it'll be interesting to see how they do. All right, so let's jump ahead and let's take a look at the junior men's roster. And you love to see a roster like this. This is great for Team Alabama. A lot of names on this list. Obviously, the single name that stands out is Greco world silver medalist Corey Land, who was a world silver medalist in, I think, maybe U17. I don't remember. And that's one of the reasons why in my opinion, Alabama hasn't had a junior or a 16U. Well, they've had some 16U All-Americans recently. Corey has actually been competing internationally. So he hasn't been to Fargo as a senior, leaving the state of Alabama, going to UNI. This will be his first trip to Fargo. But I will say both he and Isaiah Poe, who are at that top of the list, and two that absolutely should be watched, they sit in the single deepest, toughest weight class in the entire tournament, in my opinion, and that is junior 132. And when we get to that and talking about junior 132s, it'll blow you away with how many returning champs, how many returning All-Americans, just unbelievable depth at that weight class. So Corey Land and Isaiah Poe, as well as any of the other 132s that might be on this list, have their workout cut out for them. Now, who else should we pay attention to? Jaden New's been on the podium. Definitely one to watch. Gray Ortiz has wrestled well. Keenan Wyatt. I'm very excited to watch Hunter Jones wrestle in Fargo. I believe it's his first trip to Fargo. Cale Tucker, Yanni Vines. And again, I could go on and on with lots of different things. There's a couple names that I think that should be pointed out. Number one, Will Conlon, I think, was unbeaten or had one loss at junior duels. Now, Team Alabama didn't wrestle the toughest competition at junior duels, but Conlon certainly showed that he has the ability to go out and compete with lots and lots of different people. He will definitely be one to watch. Junior 195 is not an easy weight, but that is certainly one to watch. And then the other one is Gavin Monk. And Gavin's gone everywhere. He's wrestled at the U.S. Open, World Team Trials. He goes out and competes, wrestles hard, wrestles lots and lots of different people. He's somebody that you might want to keep an eye on, definitely. So, again, going back to the context for Team Alabama. Remember, we're at year number 51 or year number 52 of Fargo. There have been 12 freestyle All-Americans, 12 from the state of Alabama. Sam Latona is our only junior freestyle champ. He won it at 106 in 2017. And he and Christian Knopp were the last two to make the podium for Team Alabama, tying the most. Two All-Americans in junior freestyle, 2008, 2009, and 2017. They had two. Can they get more than two this year? It'll be interesting to watch. 16U Greco All-Americans. They've never had a junior Greco champ ever. That's tough. And again, the last Greco All-Americans were Sam Latona and Christian Knopp. But I will say, in 2009, they had 6 All-Americans, or 6 Alabamians make the podium in junior Greco. I don't know that we're going to batch that this year, but I really like the junior squad from Team Alabama and what they're bringing to the table. So, all right, so that is Team Alabama. Like I said before, I'm going to jump into a lot more detail in terms of actual weight classes, comparing some of those names to who is registered at each of those weight classes next week. But I wanted to just give you an overview, especially for those of you that haven't been to Fargo, haven't watched Fargo, don't really know junior nationals and that sort of thing. I wanted to give you some context to understand how difficult it is to make the podium. Sometimes I think we go in thinking, well, this person has dominated the state of Alabama, or this person has dominated in the Southeast. That doesn't necessarily equate to being a Fargo All-American. So I think Team Alabama has a number of individuals who have a real shot to make the podium in the coming weeks in Fargo. But the competition is going to be tough. Make sure you tune back in. If you don't tune back in for any of the others, Georgia or any of the other state previews, make sure you tune in early next week for a breakdown of each of the weight classes, because I think you'll be impressed with what you see. All right, I hope you guys have a good one. Best of luck to Team Alabama as they make their trip to Fargo. I'll be watching. Can't wait to watch you guys go and make a run for the podium.